Welcome to Where Is My Mind, a podcast where we talk fascinating films and eat random things we find on the floor. I'm a pair of pants that have a very large rip at the knee, and not much else. Parker.
And I'm a jar of BB gun pellets ready to be shot into the ass of the world. Ryan?
That's horrible. That's horrible. What's your name? That's horrible. Yo. Sometimes I'm happy we don't have video because you don't see the face I have to make it. And today we're talking about the 2013 indie film that's probably a lot more thoughtful than it has any right to be, involving plant growth on the wall. Motivational growth, which is something I found through the podcast I Hope You Suffer. Go watch this movie because trust me, it will make a lot more sense if you do. This is one of those that's it's gonna be playing Mad Libs to explain it.
It appeals to the heart. It has a redemptive quality to it. There's a little bit of spirit in this movie. Like you might
There
actually tear
is.
up. You might
There
you might actually
is.
tear up.
There is. It's very well made. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. This is a very well made, low budget, kind of gross little movie, and I think it's hard not to enjoy. I think something's wrong with you if you don't get something out of it. Whether it be like the plot or just Jeffrey Combs being a mold puppet in like the bathroom corner. I think it's hard to not like this movie a lot. But that's just my personal taste because I'm weird.
And Jeffrey is the mold using old names for the main character Ian and always refusing to use his
Never
actual
calling
name.
him by his name, always calling him Jack. Oh god, because we know Jeffrey's a very versatile actor. And I'm like, fuck. So like, I guess the one other thing I technically watched for research was like Love in a 45 because he also has a southern accent in that. So that's also another bang. We're not going to talk about it on the pod, but like another fantastic movie that I think should be seen. Natural born killers, but actually funny and like less controversial feeling. It's always nice. It's another good movie where he's playing a very campy character. But yeah, he's the mold in this, and he's the fucking mold.
It looks like a practical puppet of sorts.
It
And
is.
Jeffrey's doing the voice work
Yes.
for the mold.
So looks fantastic. But as far as other cast members go, we have Adrian DiGiovanni as Ian, Danielle Dostich as Leah, Pete Giovanni as Fox the Ox. Yes, that is a real character name in this movie. We'll get to it. Ken Brown as Plasma Day, and Hannah Stevenson as Vanessa. This is a very small, contained movie. That's just what pops up on Letterboxd. I think there are probably a few more people. It's a very contained little movie that really takes place in like a couple of sets, maybe. Like, there's not much.
Yeah, for the most part, it's the apartment and then
Hmm.
kind of the exterior
Exterior
hall and
shot, like
stairwell.
you'll look out of the apartment, but yeah, there's not much. Like, again, pretty clearly low budget, but it's very charming. It's also pretty gross.
Yeah, the apartment is like pure
So
squalor with
disgusting.
to-go boxes everywhere.
Oh
It's
god.
it's just a genuine nightmare of a mess that's so large that there's no point in trying to clean up the mess. It's more just Ian is in survival mode
Yeah,
and
it's got to
clear.
that point. It's
It,
so
it's not even
it's
hoarding. It's just like decay. The apartment is in a state of decay.
pretty much, yeah. Constantly, all the time. And the mold does do some really disgusting things and makes Ian do some really disgusting things
Hmm.
that you see pretty much on screen.
Yeah, like
Um,
with Ian's TV, I mean,
that's
there's little
also
nods of like the 80s and so forth, like shoot 'em
mhm.
up games. They even like have one called Star Maker,
Yes.
that are referred to as shmups, as shoot 'em ups, which was really fun to see.
Yes. That and the soundtrack is all 8-bit,
Yeah.
if I recall. And I
Yep, it's
was
all
like, this is
chip
kind of fun.
tune stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's done well. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it's pretty neat stuff. Not all of the chip tune music kind of always works, but they figure a way to actually use it for commercials and so on, but then they use that same sort of keep to that technology, but they make it kind of long form in a score format. So I thought that was really special.
Yes. It's just very charming. It's filmmakers, Don Thacker, who doesn't have really many other credits outside of this. They clearly knew what they were doing. I wish they would do more, but happens. Life happens, I suppose. Yeah, this is definitely worth a watch. If you are interested in this, it is on Tubi and on Prime. So it's not like this isn't like some hard to find bullshit. You can go watch it. This movie opens up with the 8-bit music and just and a montage of a lot of stereotypical television shows, aerobics commercials, knife commercials. There's a Frankenstein parody. There's like an alien buddy cop television show. It's just this montage on this old ass TV, and they're all overacted. And you kind of come back to that. We do come back to that every once in a while, so it's very fun. Cut to our main character, Ian, sitting on the couch, just flipping through these channels. He's just fucking depressed. He looks disgusting. This man has not showered in years, I'm convinced. It focuses in on a video game commercial before there's a title card that just says a delicate time. This movie does kind of use those title cards just to kind of separate things. I don't know what they mean. This is a movie that like thinks it has a lot to say. I will point that out. It thinks it has a lot to talk about. Sure, Janet.
I love the title cards. The use of those can go wrong in so many different ways, but in this movie, it's really fun because
It is.
they do have a relevance, and they're not just marking out like what the next thing is to come. Like they're actually sort of neat and reflective.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really neat addition.
So, and amidst this, TV just fucking dies. I think it doesn't blow up, but it just gives out. He narrates and says that he named the TV Kent, and it died around week 67. If you're doing the math at home, that's over a year. I think time's a bit of a. I think the time in this movie's a bit inconsistent, but that also might just be me. After this television blows up, he's a bit in shock, and as the narration continues, he just heads into the kitchen and grabs some household items. He begins talking to the audience and says nothing has changed in his life. There's nothing in the outside world for him. Nothing matters. That sort of thing. It's not like a manic episode, but it feels a lot like a lecture. He's kind of talking down to the audience a little bit. Goes into the restroom, talks about bowel movements as, that sort of thing goes. This isn't United Trash, so you don't see anything. As it goes on, he keeps getting more and more angsty, even bringing kittens into the mix and how they're all killers and whatever. So, he's a pretty unhappy guy.
In his tidy whities and like the undershirt
Oh,
stuff is really it's
gross.
not good. It's not great.
No. Oh, fuck
And it
off.
has like a apocalypse now sort of pacing
It's
within the
like,
same
dude,
room.
you can tell this is not. God, 2 minutes in, and this is just not
Yeah.
gonna be good.
And Kent the TV is like
It's
the
Holy
sort of
Grail.
80s style of like
It's
console
an
kind of thing
old
where it's
TV.
furniture truly, and then there happens to be a
Yeah.
TV in the center.
Yeah, and he was like, I think it's he's just like, all he was living for was the TV, Kent. Then closes off the vents and starts pouring liquids into the bathtub. And if you haven't caught on by now, he's trying to kill himself with gas. So he's
I feel like we've seen
explaining,
that before in the Folds of the Flesh,
yup, yup,
right? Is it
yup, kind of.
trend line?
Yeah, it's a trend line, yes. Why do we always talk about movies with bathtub stuff? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mr. Udo. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not bringing him into this.
I mean, Ian is
He-
self-aware though that he's like
yes.
completely wrapped into his own like reclusive behavior, mixed with
Mhm.
like squalor and like self-hatred, and then
Yes.
obsessed with like you said, the kittens are killers.
So, yes, he's just fucking depressed and gross looking, and he closes the vents. He tries to introduce himself, and he falls down and like cracks his head. And he wakes up, and then the mold and Jeffrey, good old Jeffrey, is just like, "Welcome back to the land of the living."
And the title card is like, it says on
On
nomenclature.
nomenclature.
Yeah, and then
Which is just names. Which is just naming for anyone who's taking chemistry 101.
and then they start doing doing "Don't Fear the Reaper" lyrics, is what some of the dialogue is, and I'm not sure
Yes.
everybody would pick up on that.
Yes. Yeah, and
It's a
then
thing.
yeah, he just keeps getting so he's just like fucking pissed that he fucking failed at dying. That's literally what happened. He failed at killing himself, right? And then and then like the the way the mold fucking comforts him is this beautiful recurring line of, "Oh, the mold knows, Jack, the mold knows." So, and he's like, "Well, death is easy, you should, all that sort of thing." And then he remembers, "Oh yeah, Kent fucking broke." And he calls someone to fix it. It's
The
just
mold is like a crisis hotline of filth.
it is.
I don't know what
It
to say other than
is.
like that's kind of where it's very endearing. Like the mold at this point is pretty sweet and caring, which is nice.
At this point, yeah. This little mold puppet looking thing is so disgusting. I think it's bad. I think it's nasty.
And then there's a sequence where I have it that the TV that Kent sort of explodes a second time, but without any kind of like irony, because then it cuts to like the 8-bit cartoons of Jack and or Ian. Uh,
Yeah, I put him as Jack in my notes as well. So
it's
like, yeah.
fine. Yeah, because he's constantly referred to by the mold as Jack.
Constantly, even though his name is
So
Ian. Ian goes to correct the mold on his name, and the mold just fucking burps on him and he passes out. It's that kind of movie. Like another title call card titled Plasmodium. And then Ian goes and opens the door. His landlord. I have to assume his landlord because he's talking about rent. And this guy's a storyteller. And every time Ian tries to interject, he just immediately goes, "Shut up."
yeah, because we thought it was going to be like the TV repairman,
No, we
presumably,
thought too, yeah.
but it's Box the Ox.
Box the ox. It's Box the ox. And he just immediately, like, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, he's found out this weird story about like visiting prison to see a family member. Basically, he's like, "I don't want to lie to my family about people giving me rent." So this is just his way of getting rent money. So then he tells Ian, after a little bit of back and forth, he tells Ian, "All right, I'll be back in 3 days to collect your rent." And then as that happens, Ian spots a girl outside. He tries as he tries to shut the door, the TV guy comes to fix the fucking TV.
Well, and Box the Ox also like explains the glass love of prison visitation. Uh,
Oh,
oh
gross. No.
yeah, yeah, and
No, that
then the
doesn't sound
story of
right.
how he
Now
like broke his brother's hands and wrists and so forth because they were on they didn't pay back rent kind of thing. So I mean he's threatening Ian with physical violence, which is
pretty much.
well
Yeah, this is just a really long-winded way of intimidating someone for rent. That's all it is. And Ian says he has the money, so
Plasma Day. So he's finally arrived.
Cosmo shows up. I'm pretty sure. I think that's his name. He looks at Kent and he's like, he does whatever he needs to do.
Well, he looks at Kent in like a very
Weird.
like like beyond affection, like a little bit too far, and he
Like an
licks the
object.
TV. Yeah,
He
I
licks
mean he
the
licks,
TV. He does lick the TV. That was a weird moment. I like forgot. I totally forgotten about it. I was like, this is weird.
but he's also like upselling the plasma upgrade of like
Yeah, because
transitioning
he's
to a
like,
different
Kent's
format.
dead, dude. Like, you need to fucking like get a new TV.
But he's obsessed with Kent as well. So there is like I don't know if he wants if there's like he wants to take it off this guy's hands kind of thing, and
It's so
among like
gross.
audiophiles and hi-fi people,
Yeah.
there's a group of folks that use music in order to listen to their hardware or their equipment, and it's like Plasma Day is definitely in that camp.
So yeah, and I think eventually the mold possesses the TV guy. I have to assume the mold just possesses him to try to get him to try to get Ian to listen before Ian fucking vomits all over him. Ian runs back to the bathroom and like starts fucking crying to this plant growth on the wall. And the mold's like, "Don't answer the door, don't answer the door." And he talks in riddles the entire time, right? It's so weird. And he's just like, "The mold has plans, Jack. The mold has plans," or whatever. It's so weird. It's so just ugh.
Yeah, with the mold's coaching, and there's a line that says goldfish in an 8-ounce glass. That I'm just like, what the hell are we talking about?
What
What
is
is going on
that? Like an
here?
8 ounce,
Yeah.
like
Well, and Kent is all glitchy, and
kind of rough. So he's just like Ian's just trying to cope with everything that's happening. The mold is trying to like motivate him, hence the title, but Ian keeps interrupting and he's just like, "Don't you dare interrupt me again," or whatever. He's like, "You could give me a week to fix your life and we'll be good." Then he doesn't specify what he wants in return. He just doesn't.
Ian peers out of like his apartment window, the through the kind of
Well,
security glass thing, and so I mean he's sort of trying to see what's happening outside of his small world,
kind of.
but it's a small step. It's not really what the
We'll get
mold
to it.
wants more. The mold wants
The
more for
mold
Ian.
always wants more. And he looks, and then Ian begins talking to us again, and it's talking about how everything on television either is can be classified as Star Trek or everything else. And he continues to get upset about the TV because he also realizes the creator of Star Trek is dead. And I'm just like, dude, Jeffrey Combs is voicing the plant growth you're talking to. I think you can talk to him about Star Trek anytime you want. Just out of nowhere, the mold sprouts this mushroom, and it's so gross. And he tells Ian to eat it, and he does, and he does.
So
It's
bad.
just one of those
So
moments.
bad.
It's so it's disgusting. As most normal people would do, he passes out and ends up in the Alien Cop television show from the opening credits. And those characters are also telling him to reevaluate his situation, albeit in a bit different way. He just keeps ending up in these TV commercial things. It just gets weirder and weirder. And this is the point in my notes where I just said I can't explain any of this.
We only get like a little bit of relief is when Vanessa, the grocery delivery person, arrives. So she kind of brings us back to
Yes.
reality from the extended vacation.
Yes. Yeah, he wakes up from this pass out episode, steps into the light before waking up in his bathtub, and violently continues puking.
He's going through a time.
And he asks the mold, "Dude, what is going on?" He just tells him to sleep before going to Successville.
Yeah,
God, the writing in this.
which it's on the nose. It's good
I would
stuff.
listen to that mold. If it would tell me something like that, I would listen to it. It's more 8-bit dreamy stuff, and then he sees the girl through the peephole. He sets his alarm for 10:16 before another girl knocks at his door with his groceries, even though he's like, "You're not my delivery guy. I know who delivers my groceries." She's like, "Okay, yeah, just let me do my job." He's like looking through it and he's just like, "This is not my stuff.
I mean, the
It is
ketchup would make sense, but the laxatives and so on, the
the
other like
other
mystery
unspecified
products. Yeah,
brand names that I don't even know what they are. Yeah, we just have those now. They're arguing and like what he like just storms into the bathroom with his groceries, spills them out, and it's just like, "Are you a girl?" Because I think there's like pads in there or something. There's like some feminine hygiene, and he just the mold just goes, "The mold is the mold, Jack," and the girls and they're arguing. And then Ian, I think again's like, this is like the fifth time in the movie Ian's like needed convincing to continue to be alive, while the mold continues to be super vague. That's just this entire movie, I think. It's like
well,
trying to
and
convince Ian to not kill himself, and then the mold like doing it successfully but not explaining anything in the process. I think that's just the gist of this movie.
mm-hmm. Poor
So
Vanessa, and like she's not going to get her tip
no, she's
component
mad. She's
gratuity,
like
so
she wants her
she's
tip.
pissed off about that. And she's like,
Yeah,
"I'll
so
be
she,
back here next time you add this in." This is
You
what you
have to
do.
have my gratuity, yeah. So Ian is now cleaning his room. It just, I mean, I guess they don't specify how the mold's gotten to him, but he's like, I mean, he's into it. He's like cleaning up himself, cleaning up his apartment. He's just taking advice from it, I guess. Every single day at 10:16 in the morning, he looks at the same girl through a peephole, and it's not gross, I don't think. It's kind of odd, just kind of out of nowhere.
And
And
he actually
then
does
she
get
goes,
cleaned up, you know what I mean?
he
Like his
does.
whole look gets,
Yeah.
he has a,
He's a bit more cleaned up. You change his clothes. It's always nice. But she goes and tries to talk to him, and she isn't weirded out by him, but he's just like, he has no idea how to react because he's like, oh, the girl I've just been staring at like has finally come to talk to me. Like, what the fuck? God, my
she
notes is
calls him
getting,
eyeball, I think, as well,
yeah, because
which
yeah,
was
all she
fun.
sees is the eyeball in the peephole.
Yeah, she's like, all right, eyeball.
So yeah, the movie kind of treats this point because he's like talking to someone from the outside world. He kind of treats it like a turning point. And then I just have in my notes the in all caps, the mold killed someone.
Yeah, because there's a melted down dead body like near
That's
the
right. Yeah,
mold.
I just put the
So,
mold killed someone. And no, he's just hallucinating his dead body. Ian is just hallucinating his own dead body because of course he is.
and then the mold
And
gets fed like a hand kind of thing, and then really like all
it's
hell starts
so
breaking
weird.
loose.
And it just says get close and the mold's just like get closer and the mold forces him to vomit out a spore, feed it to him. I mean it is nasty. There's some good looking stop motion for that. But
Hmm.
I did notice that. So again, all practical. Then another TV guy, not the guy who was like licking the TV, but another one who like actually knows what he's doing, comes, answers the door, and he's like, "All right, let's check out the TV." And he's basically going on how this thing is a relic. And I mean, he goes into great detail about how cool Kent is. He really
Oh yeah,
does. And then
yeah.
and he realizes, he looks, and he's like, "Ah, the TV has a corroded rod which affects everything." And is like, "Huh, you have a mold problem." And then cut to Ian running into the bathroom and being like, "You fucked my television!" And the mole's just like, "I wouldn't go as far to say that." And then
And
another beautiful line of, "Do you remember the time my body was decomposing in the bathroom a few minutes ago?" It's a weird. This is weird. The mole just tries to shift the conversation to the girl, to Leah, the girl who's been like looking him up through the door. And then Vanessa comes over with the groceries, and she's just like, "Oh my god, your house is so clean now." And then so they start watching the TV together. She tries to ask for his tip again, and then a spore grows out of goes out of the walls and kills her. Because of course, we have to kill someone in this movie. And then we get a title card that just says object manipulation.
Vanessa
It's
gets
not
darted in the neck by the mold dart. And so it's like, well, now Ian is in a pickle. He's in a jam,
like, what
seriously,
the
because
fuck?
now he's got a dead body in the house. But then we get like 90s fitness ads on Kent. And the TV
Yes.
repairman, the second TV repairman, he's much more he's much more respectful of Kent, and he's sort of like still has this appreciation for through hole soldering basically, where his
Yeah.
degree of like electronics respect is super high. So he's kind of fun. Like he's not actually getting weird with Kent
He's
fully,
not. He's
so
not
that's okay.
trying to get intimate with the TV. It's always a good sign.
And then there's the
So,
advertisements for like samurai sword stuff,
yes,
and then the
yes.
walls. Yeah, so the objects appear on the wall, mold based objects.
Yeah, the mole possesses the leader of the aerobics commercial, and then the TV short circuits yet again. And then the mole just gaslights Ian about killing Vanessa because he drilled the hole. Because, like, he told Ian to drill holes in the wall, and he's using that to be like, you fucking did it, man.
And then there's
So,
mold. There's like boobs made out of mold or in the shape thereof
that
on the
thing fucking,
wall.
like, yeah, there's a pumpkin nipple gross looking pumpkin nipple that comes out of one of these holes in the bathroom, and the mole's just like, lick it. He fucking sucks on it.
So
It's so
bad.
gross.
Yeah, like
And
the,
it's
the
just a
bathroom
good,
in like the movie Train Spotting, that those bathroom sequences. This is
yeah,
about 10 times worse.
it's
It
worse.
really
It's so much
it's
worse.
considerably worse.
And then as he's sucking on it, he begins to levitate. Sure, Janet.
Yeah, the
It's
floating
just,
was something.
it's so like it's a it's a great shot, and I want to know how they did it, but I don't. I absolutely don't.
There's a little bit of an implication of like the spores are psychedelic in a way, so they have these other
Well,
qualities, sort
you
of.
could imply this whole movie is a little psychedelic.
Yeah,
It's not like colorful. It's not like a colorful, crazy movie, but it would be we're kind of cutting it short in that this movie does talk a lot. And like I was kind of when I was taking notes, I just kind of like I can't remember all of this off the top of my head. It's a little bit like Monty. I was like I know when I record this, I can't talk about it quite like that.
it's kind of it's a little
A little
tough.
long-winded. It's a little
Yeah,
long-winded, but I mean it gets its point across, and it's just again, it's like playing Mad Libs but worse.
and Ian thinks the
Oh
mold has made Vanessa disappear almost, or like he has like resentment about toward the
you're
mold.
ignoring the fact that after he levitates, there's just this weird animation of a titty sucking machine. And that's very colorful. You could probably make out a lot of things through that. And there's more TV stuff, animation stuff going on. And then Ian is now vomiting blood all over someone's body. And the mold just keeps laughing. And Ian is now vomiting up spores. Everything is just getting worse. You get a fantastic Jeffrey Combs evil laugh that Herbert West could never.
Well, and he says the mold is everywhere, Jack.
The mold is everywhere.
Mold is
The
everywhere.
mold is everywhere. Leah goes and answers the door. And he goes and answers the door, and Leah's there. And she's like, "Dude, let me come in." And Ian looks, and Vanessa, whoever had ended up in the tub, is not there anymore. He's like, "There's a girl trying to." He like tells the mole, "There's a girl trying to come in here," and the mole just goes, "Bitchin'." And he's like, "Don't fucking misbehave." He's like, "Don't misbehave." And it's like telling a small child what to do.
It feels like Ian's the puppet of the mold at this point. Like the puppet is
It
clearly
really, yeah,
taken on a new power.
entirely new. No, Vanessa still isn't dead. She's still delivering stuff outside, but we're not going to talk about that. Leah's just like, "Oh my god, look at his TV. Look at your TV and the couch." And then they turn on the television and they watch whatever's there. And Leah's just like, "Is it a voyeurism kink?" Because she's just like, she admits to like thinking about him a lot. And then she kisses him. And then Ian fucking pukes all over her. Why is there so much puking? Why is there so much puking?
And it's not just like your sort of standard human vomit, it is this insane green
It's always gross.
hellscape.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I know. And so she ends up in the bath. So she asked just use the restroom, clean up or whatever. And he fucking panics because he's like, "Oh no, the mold's in there." I'm like, "You have another?" I'm like, "You could just use the master." Okay, whatever. So Ian changes his shirt and then knocks on the bathroom door because Leah's just in there, and he gives her another shirt, and then she changes into it in front of him, which I'm sure he hasn't seen in years. But like, we don't see anything. But like, she asked him, "What are the holes in the wall doing here?" And he just says, "Well, I just go crazy sometimes." I'm like,
Which is right. I mean,
I mean, okay.
he's come a long way.
We've come a long way. We haven't come a long way from about an hour ago. And then so she's trying to rationalize some things about him. I think mainly the like looking out of the peephole stuff. And then she just calls him Jack out of nowhere. And you're like, "Oh fuck." I'm like, "Oh, that's not good." Box invites himself in, the landlord, and he's like, "Oh, you've cleaned up the place. That's nice. But do you have my rent?" He starts talking about chimps when he doesn't have the rent in time and how they're fucking monsters because he's right. Chimps are extremely violent, crazy animals.
But I mean, they're
And,
adorable enough to put in a sidecar for a
well, those are
motorcycle or beside of
bonobos.
it.
Bonobos are like a lot more peaceful and like chill than chimps. Chimps are just fucking crazy. And Box is like, "Oh, you have a girl," and like he realizes that, and he's like, "All right, I'll be back for rent."
Yeah,
And
Boxy
then
Ox has like a soft spot where he's basically just
God, it's
like,
like, "Oh, you have
I
a
would
girl
usually
here?
break
Okay,
your
I'll leave you alone."
Yeah, he's
Where
like,
was this?
I'd planned to break your knees, but you have company, I see. So
Get
I'll
laid
be back
first, and
another
I'll do
time.
it.
It's pretty much.
That's pretty much what it is.
And Leah's super happy about the circumstances. Like after being
She's a
violently vomited
very
on,
cheery, happy character. It's a nice break from like Ian just kind of being like all kind of like depressed.
sad boy.
Leah gets him to talk about his suicide attempt. And she wants to help him, and Ian's just like, nah, he's a loser. And then Leah's like using bee metaphors for love. And then the mold kills her because why not? So, and he just like fucking, and it's like a really bloody kill if I remember. Like he just sucks her into like the cabinets or something. Holy shit. Ian, just covered in blood, just begins talking to the camera about panic and the feeling of panic, having a panic attack. So
Hmm.
you can imagine how comforting that is. And then the mole has now turned against Jack because he's like, oh shit, Leah, a human being, tried to help Ian, but like he did that, and that would have prevented the mold from helping. So he's just going to keep gaslighting and manipulating. So the mold tries to grow another spore because that is all it is good for at this point. And Ian just interrupts him and is like, "No, what are you doing?" And the mold just keeps getting agitated. As Ian just goes like, "I need to deal with you because you're just crazy." The spore just explodes and like Ian gets burned and like basically Ian is sent to hell and he turns into mold. And then this is in the part of the notes where I just put, "Can you explain this because I can't?"
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes very odd.
It just gets very strange very quickly.
I mean, it does
Again,
end on like an up note of like Ian departing with Leah, but I
don't
wasn't sure if
spoil.
if it's a dream. Like, is it a dream sequence of
Is it?
sorts?
It's weird because it cuts to black after that. It cuts to black and then back to Ian on the floor of the bathroom in the same state, beard and tidy whities and all that. And the mold greets him just like he did at the beginning, and he just doesn't question the mold. He's just like, "Oh, it's there." And then yeah, Ian turns on the TV to say some of the same stuff that's been shown throughout the movie, namely with Leah. And Box is again asking at the door. Box is now asking for rent yet again, and he's not as nice as he was, and that says a lot. And then the mold shoots him down with a bunch of spores. And then Ian, as all this goes on, Ian's just Kubrick staring at this TV. And then the mold is so pissed at this that like Ian's just not listening. And he tries to kill the TV again before he sets off like a smoke bomb. And then as Ian goes to the door to look for Leah, and then cut to Ian actually being like kind of cleaned up. He finally steps out into the outer world and introduces himself to Leah. And then she calls him Jack. And then there's a body on the floor. And that's the movie.
And that's the film.
Was that comprehensive? Did that make sense?
It's a fun fever dream,
It
honestly.
is.
Like, and I think it's where you think it's going to be cheesy or corny. It comes across as like as endearing.
Definitely.
And then for Ian, you start off with him in such a negative place. There is a point in the movie where your empathy kicks in full, and then you start rooting for him, and then you start
Yeah,
hating the mold a lot because you're like,
you do. Yeah.
this is not the happy ending. This mold is nefarious.
Very
They're
nefarious.
I enjoyed
It
it.
is. I enjoyed it a lot. I
Yeah.
enjoyed this a lot when I saw it about a year ago. And yeah, I really enjoyed myself. It does give you, I think, if you were to like to listen and write down stuff, it does give you a little bit to think about how life and how we treat people and how we perceive things. And of course, the television constantly just showing things. I think is a little bit of a nod to like you know what we consume. One of those things I'm like, I would like to talk about this more. I just don't know how because there's just so much.
And the mold has, I mean, it's almost a like an uplifting, like positive dialogue, an inner dialogue of sorts, that that's fine to a point. But there's kind of also the Ian dealing with the consequences of
Yes.
that also. So it isn't to say that like he came to those changes by his own doing, but somebody else
Hmm.
pushed him to. And I think
Yes.
it's almost that he can't always perhaps take credit for all of
Yes.
that because it wasn't himself in full to try to make those changes, but instead this nefarious fucked up
Awful
mold
thing. Yeah,
is
literally mold.
yeah.
Literally mold on the on in your wall that just like popped up and was like, "What's up?" It's
You
crazy.
know, I
It's
think
great.
we all have had a moment where it's like whether it's like, you know, a hair in the sink or whatever else, and it's you can accept things for a little bit, and then there's that moment where you're like,
We're just
nope,
like, "Nah, I gotta change it.
this is getting
I got
scrubbed
it.
down, this is getting refreshed,
It's out of hand.
it's out of
It's
hand.
out of hand."
It's the watch piles, the stacks for collectors and so
The
forth,
laundry, the
or
dishes. Yes.
yeah,
It's a lot, but
modern living, you know.
life is worth living, kids. We're happy and normal at this podcast, I promise. We
And we
like
never wanted Ian to fail in the bathtub with
no,
his
you never no,
gas
you never like
experiment.
rooting against Ian. You're just kinda like how he does it. You're like, okay.
I mean, he is a failure to follow through. He doesn't, so that's a good thing.
You do root for him to get better no matter how it's through.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
if it's through like this even if it's through the mold at the beginning and then it slowly turns to Leah helping him, like he does you're always like wanting him to get better
And
for
Leah's complicity with the mold potentially or infection with the mold is a
I
strange
so
thing
oh,
because
weird. Maybe he's like not able to shake it off. Like the mold is like, completely like shattered his trust of anything. Might be that because he's infiltrated his life so much.
it validates his paranoia specifically
Yeah,
that I think is very curious
very
because
curious.
decisions were made,
That's the best
and
way to. That is the
yeah.
best way to put this movie. It's like decisions were made. It's disgusting. I love it.
But it's really fun, and I'll
Yeah,
say, you know, not to like rag on a movie, but Combat Shock is a film that I find to be
awful.
of little redeeming value because you feel really depressed
Just
and
say
sad.
bad. What
Yeah,
brings you? What?
it's
Why do you?
it's so bleak and sad that you want to get out of it within 5 minutes of a kitchen sequence. Just run for the doors. It's not going to get better. And now I mean, it deals with like a degree of PTSD and so forth, which is really redeeming and worth exploring. But oh, the degree of filth in that movie. Motivational Growth has an element of that, but
Yeah,
we have
but it's
such
subtle.
comic relief of the mold. The mold is hysterical.
You
So,
Jeffrey Combs in your movie, it's automatically going to be some degree of entertaining.
and just
Not
to have the
much.
voice work, Jeffrey's voice work as the mold, which is not nearly as expensive as having him on set
Jeffrey
for a
just
month.
stand there.
So the director
Yeah.
and folks behind this film
Yeah, they knew.
used, oh, they really were masterful in using what
Yeah, they
they.
knocked it out of the park.
Mhm.
They definitely knocked it out of the park, and I'll have to keep my ear out for like if they keep making stuff because it looks like the director has done. Let me look really quickly, but it looks like the director has just done some stuff on YouTube with a Devolver Digital. But I don't know if there's like a sequel in the works to this. I don't know if like they're making similar projects. I just don't know. I kind of want them to though. Even though it's been over 10 years, I kind of want them to because this is really fucking cool.
Yeah, I hope it leads to them landing
I hope
more
so.
larger budget films if possible. Only because it's a good
Yeah.
example of not having a lot of means but making it stretch. And if
Yeah.
the writing and the idea of the film is there, um, there's a lot of like nostalgia nods in this film, but it's never pandering. It never does
Mm-mm,
it for a
never.
cheap effect to say like, oh look, vinyl records.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any
Never.
bullshit like that at all. It really just is really nice. These small touches that are included.
Yeah. So it does a really good job, and I highly recommend everyone check this out. Again, it's on Prime and Tubi, so if you just sat through this entire episode and not watched it, shame on you. Go watch it right now.
Just have fun. You'll have a
Go have
great
fun.
time. Go have
It'll
fun.
make more sense. No, it won't. The guy who did our logo was like, "Yeah, I watched City of Lost Souls, like, and then I listened to the episode, then I rewatched it, and it made it made it make a lot more sense." So I hope we're doing that.
It's
I hope
fun
we're
that
doing that.
way. I mean,
It
honestly,
is.
though, a lot of us do listen to podcasts and it's on an episode or it's an episode or whatever on a film that we haven't seen. But I sometimes you need that push. And that's where I look at it with certain
Sometimes.
podcasts. There's not going to be insane spoilers in the first 10, 20 minutes. It's
No.
just to kind of whet the appetite and
To
get some,
convince me.
yeah, a little bit
To
of hype.
convince me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You got 3 picks this week?
Oh, I do.
Oh.
the first
Oh, damn it.
The first one is called Hell Squad from 1985. This was yeah, a little bit of a fun find. It's pretty it's madcap goofball humor. A group of Vegas showgirls that basically end up taking a job to make a bunch of money through being commandos for a diplomat whose son is kidnapped. So
Yum.
it's such bullshit. I mean, this is really garbage, but it's really funny. It felt a lot like a strange bad episode of Chips in a way. Yeah, this is a totally a throwaway film. But but
You had fun enough. You
I
clearly
had
liked it enough to recommend it.
I did. I had a blast. I had a lot of fun with this. I don't know. It could be on YouTube. It's not streaming much. So
Always
yeah,
encouraging.
probably an Internet Archive kind of find. The director Kenneth Hartford didn't really go on to do a whole lot else. He did a film called The Lucifer Complex, which is yeah, an intelligence agent discovers a Nazi plot to revive the Third Reich using clones. So that was what he did before.
Yum.
Oh,
Sounds like something I'd like, unfortunately.
it sounds pretty bizarre. So yeah, there was also a film called Panther Squad that's kind of like ass kicking girls that are going to go and enact some kind of revenge aspect. So Hell Squad has that, and yeah, this is a movie that is just kind of a goofball fun pick, not anything terribly serious. My
Nice,
second
nice.
pick, my my second
Oh
pick
no.
was from Jim, our pal. Of
Yay! Hi,
Hi
Jim. You're
Jim.
getting another recommendation. You're getting another shout out.
I had to. This one
We
was
have to.
this is a publicly available film called
What did you chew?
The Painting of Horror from 1994, which is
Okay.
a Gary Whitson wave film. Yeah, so this involves these roommates that
I do not remember you watching that.
no, yeah,
I genuinely don't.
I took some still pictures of this movie because there were some absolutely, I mean, it would fit in with motivational growth, sort of,
Oh my god.
in these roommates that work at like the saddest strip club you've ever seen. It's like a pallet of wood, like half-inch wood kind of thing on the floor, slightly
Mm,
raised up. It's one of the most awkward, strange films. There's only like I think it's 18 minutes or so of
yeah,
surviving
under 20.
footage. Yeah, under 20 minutes. So it's a low investment, but yeah, they get a package,
Happens.
and this painting takes on a life of its own, and
Sounds like fun.
it's really grimy. Like, and it's not sleazy grimy; it's environmentally grimy. So I've never seen anything like it, and I was relieved that it was just a film because it's a
I look
very
forward to subjecting myself to this.
it's really worth it. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it's a
Okay.
special kind of strange, and it's a lot. And I would say it's even different than the majority of other wave films. Not to put them all in any
Yeah,
lump category,
this
but this
seems
is
really. I mean, I don't want to say it's a lot smarter than other wave films, but it seems a bit more thoughtful. I mean, as much as one of those films can be. I'm
yeah,
sure
and it.
Jim's gonna be like, "You fucking idiot.
Uh,
You fucking idiot."
uh,
But Yeah, no, like, because like I know, it's still shot on video,
It
right?
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is really, they're trying, but they're also having fun, so it's not
Yeah,
it's not
that's like the best. That's
self-serious.
always the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right.
All right, my third pick was a film starring Barry Humphries, who most folks will know as Dame Edna, and it's called Barry Mackenzie Holds His Own. One of two films where the Dame Edna character sort of derives from for Barry Humphries, and
Okay.
yeah, so she gets kidnapped by Count von Plasma, played by Donald Pleasance,
Oh
and
god.
so he's like a
Oh my
a
god.
very old Dracula character.
My god.
And this movie is a complete shit show, and it's really
Real,
funny,
yeah.
but there's a lot of offensive stuff in it too. So I'll only
Yum.
caveat there are a lot of insensitive,
Great.
yeah. So
Oh,
there's
great.
there's that, and Australian humor I'm not super familiar with, so I
Yeah.
watched this really as a learning experience to try to, yeah, just try to
That's most of
take
what
on
we
something
do
new.
is just like everything is a learning experience here.
I
It
mean,
just sometimes it
decisions were
backfires.
made, not always good
Sometimes it
ones.
backfires.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, with recommendations, we've only had, where I went off about.
Fucking like a Ken Russell's awful Ken Russell movie. Yeah,
Correct.
it's the only time you like felt a need to like take a whole slot and be like, "Don't watch this."
Yeah, I mean, it's not really. This doesn't happen all that often, but I mean,
No, but well,
we have opinions.
You're telling me to go watch Barry Mackenzie, and I might be obliged to at some point.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It also has, I mean, it has like Roy Kinnear is in it, and folks, and Nell Campbell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So
Oh
there are
yeah.
like there's some cool other actors in the film that
Okay.
make it fun.
Fiona
So
Richmond, who was in House on Straw Hill,
interesting.
was apparently a major sex symbol in the in Britain at the time. Okay. Well, I think I have reason to watch now.
Yeah. All right, Parker. What are your three
Okay,
picks?
I do. I do. God damn it, two of them have Udo in them. Because it's just been one of those. I know. Everyone who act shocked. Come on.
You
I
do
need
put
to
the
hear
work
it.
in. I'll say that much. You put the work in on.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, I did. One of them is something that I don't know how we found it, but we found it. It's called The Beginner or The Einsteiger, I think, from 1985. It's a little bit Bill and Ted of like these two movie nerds. They've basically created this device to enter into like any scenes in these movies they watch. So there's a lot of parodies of like various genre films, from westerns to Indiana Jones to a Dracula parody, and some other stuff. It's a really fun movie. It's not. It's kind of dumb, but it's a bit of a. It's a bit of maybe not a love letter, but like there's clearly a respect for the genre, for the film as a whole. I just found it kind of light fun. There's not much to look into it for. And by the way, the government wants the machine that these guys have created, or like somebody wants these guys for the machine they've created. And I don't know how you found it, but I have it now.
It's hysterical. Yeah,
It's
this one
great.
took some very deep diving. Yeah,
Very deep
somebody's like ripped Betamax copy. It's a tough one
German
to find,
DVD, yeah, and it's like the fan sub.
and
It's
it's
hard to
fan
find.
subbed.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fan subbed because I'm
which
like,
can
I
be.
don't
I
understand.
mean, modern fan subs have come a long way,
They have, yeah.
but
Yeah, it's like asking someone on Reddit, "Hey, can you translate this post?" Respond
I know it
usually is,
made my
"Do you want
weekend.
me
It was
to?"
the best thing I watched
It was,
over a
yeah,
three
it
four
was,
day period, and
yeah.
so
I think I watched it like after work or something, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is great. This is fun." So don't have to think too hard about it. I was like, I recommended it to a couple other people. I was like, I'll show it to you, but like, the next video I have is something I know you watch. I made you watch late at night, or convinced you to watch late at night.
Oh God.
Paradise Framed from 1995.
Oh.
I found that Letterboxd says it has about 6 views. I found it on Vimeo. The director put it there.
It's one of the strangest films I've ever seen, and I watch strange films. That's all I'm
You
gonna
watch
say.
strange shit.
I
I
watch
know, it's
strange
so weird.
stuff, and this one, it's
It's so
very,
weird.
it's like it's a like one of those passion project where somebody had some really strange dreams and needed to then.
Someone had a really good idea and they didn't know how to quite put it because you have it takes a lot of hints from My Own Private Idaho, I think. I think that's part of why I like it so much. Is because
Mhm.
it takes hints from that. Mainly having Udo Kier and then the actor who plays Pigeon Bob in Idaho as two of your main characters. And then there's like this still shot of River Phoenix from one of the weirder scenes in the film. He had passed away by this point, but they use like a still shot of him in the movie. So I was kind of like, okay, okay, you're just a fanboy. I mean, yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's like this weird surrealistic thing of like how these people in these paintings live, and it's really like upfront gay, like to the point even I was like, oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's at least 5 to 7 too far moments
Like
that
you're just like
linger.
not even that. It's just like so like uncalled. Like I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's like it's very upfront in a movie you kind of don't expect it to be. So maybe the director was working through some things. Maybe that could just be that.
Entirely
There's
possible.
another. It's very possible, but you have middle-aged Udo Kier, and that's how you hook me. That's how you hook me into anything, and I did enjoy seeing him. So 3 stars.
And Alexis Arquette also not the
Yes.
biggest role for her in
Mm-mm,
this.
no, she does a good job.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
everyone in it does a pretty good job. It's just like the writing sometimes is like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm not going to be eating a fortune cookie for some time. I'll say that much.
yeah. Hmm.
And then finally, something totally different for my third recommendation is Madonna Ciao Italia, her 1987 concert film.
Damned good. Does not get enough attention or praise really.
Yeah, it's not her like whole era of like, who's that girl? True Blue, not my favorite musically. I still think my favorite era of hers period is what she did with Erotica and the Girly Show. But this is a fun like little concert to watch and see her interact with her audience. I mean, she's a joy to watch. She has so much energy, and she's just this fantastic performer. And I don't know, I'm a fan person. I'm a fanboy for that sort of thing. So fight
It's a
me.
great production and it's
Yeah,
it's yeah, very tight performance.
those are my 3 picks.
Outstanding.
So what are we doing next episode?
We're going to venture into Antarctica with a
Damn it.
Doctor Who. Yeah, we're going Tom Baker era. The
Unfortunately, yes, we are.
the multi-episode Seeds of Doom, starring
Yes.
Tony Beckley, who is more known for When a Stranger Calls with Carol Kane. And yeah, we're going to be off to Antarctica.
We're going to be off to Antarctica and hopefully not dying and praying for the downfall of mankind.
It's when vegetation strikes back.
Yes. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the happening. I don't know if I can make a joke about the happening. I think I might get shot on sight if I do.
Could be dangerous.
It could be dangerous. Could be very dangerous. So, you can follow the podcast on Instagram at Where Is My Mind Podcast. We're the only account with that name that is active,
Yay.
so it should not be hard to find. We also have a Discord, so you can DM the account or one of us to join. I promise we're not gatekeeping. I might put the link back up and like have it open for a week. I don't know. We'll see what to do. If you want to find me on Instagram or Letterboxd, it's parkit_BE. If you want to find Ryan on Letterboxd or Instagram, it's Ryan_BMD. We also have a blog spot that will be linked in show notes if you want to look at the articles. The very few articles we have written for that. I just came back from a screening where one of them was in a little zine, and I'm very proud of it. So
Hell
even
yeah.
though the movie was horrible, but I had a little spot, and I'm proud of myself. That's it for the episode. I know it's a shorter one, but our schedules have been crazy. A little crazy because I had to move.
Well, we
And
made it
I have to.
motivational today.
I do. We had to be cheery and happy. Had to be happy. So that's it. We'll see you guys next episode for Seeds of Doom.